Welcome to the Healthspan Collective, the podcast where science and wellness converge. I'm Nicole Doran, and I'm thrilled to have you join us as we dive into the world of regenerative medicine, integrative health, and the latest science and trends shaping how we live healthier for longer. If you live in the Palm Beach area, you are likely familiar with today's guest, Gracie Abercrombie. Gracie is a content creator based in West Palm Beach. She is known for sharing lifestyle tips, beauty routines, and local recommendations through her platform at Gracie Abercrombie. This conversation with Gracie went so much deeper than I expected in the best way possible. She shares intimately about her journey with an eating disorder, how being on a GLP-1 affected that, as well as her experience with aesthetic injectables and how she got into the wild world of content creation. Gracie Abercrombie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so honored. You just told me this is your first podcast.
It is. I hope it's the first of many, but I feel honored to
I think
be
it
here.
will be. I really think it will be. You are, I was just saying, I was like, I feel like you are like the West Palm girl. And that has happened, over the last year?
Very quickly. I wouldn't even say a year, probably maybe the last 9 months. It's been very, very recent.
Okay. So did you just wake up one day and you were like, I'm going to start creating content and just see where this goes?
I've always had a love for social media back when I was in college, when Instagram was really just a thing. We didn't have anything, Vine had come and gone at that point, but TikTok definitely was not a thing at that point.
Right.
And I had a really nice Canon camera that I bought for myself, and I would take photos, and I loved the thought of Instagram, but at that point, no one was being paid for things. Right. I was sent, items from IGK Hair Care. I had what would now be like a brand partnership with Victoria's Secret Pink.
Okay.
Where every month they would give me allotments to go online and order whatever I wanted as long as I posted about it.
Okay.
But again, no one was being paid for things.
So you were just given product.
Right.
Okay.
And then, when I got closer to graduation, you gotta go find a real job. So that everyone told me. And in hindsight, I'm so grateful that I did go into corporate America because I learned so much from, being in a sales role immediately post-college.
Okay.
Teaches you a lot of discipline, going into an actual corporate job.
Yeah.
But do I wish that I had kind of taken a chance on myself? 100%. So there were many years where I didn't pursue content. Until about a year ago. Honestly, it was like last summer. I was like, why not? I live alone. I have great friends. I have great family. But when I'm alone, I want to feel like I'm talking to someone.
Yeah.
So I started making videos, and I had made a few TikToks prior in years past, and they had done well, but I wasn't consistent with it. So last year I was like, I'm so tired of seeing all of these people around me go after it and seeing their lives change. And I'm just sitting here making excuses. I just need to do it.
Yeah.
So every single day and few videos a day, it's really paid off, which I'm grateful for.
Well, I need to tell you, I am so inspired by you because it is something, even just to support business, social media is such a big piece of that. And it's something that I'm working on right now is it really is carving out the time and energy and making it a priority. Because you said, it's you can think about it all you want, but you got to just start doing it.
Yeah. And I have a full-time job. So when people say that influencers or content creators it's not a real job, I beg to differ. I work a full-time job, and then I come home, I create content, I edit it. The editing alone takes forever. So, it's like working 2 jobs right now. So it's hard work. It's busy, and it's ever evolving and very competitive. So you always have to think about how can I really create a niche, but keep those followers engaged with what I'm doing and keep them intrigued. It's not as easy as everyone might think it seems.
No, I challenge anybody who thinks content creation, people who do it, oh, you spend a couple of minutes a day doing it. I'm like, try it.
Right.
Sit down and think of what you want to talk about, and then try to just get it all out in one take and edit that down. See how long it takes you.
It's crazy. And then when you start getting brand deals and working with people, and you have to shoot that content and get it to them by a certain date while still trying to juggle everything else, it's a lot. And I think what I love so much about it is it's the first job where I actually like have passion behind it. So I don't mind doing it. I love like I'm up till midnight editing. That's fine because I love this and I love to see how it pays off in the end. It's a passion. And if I always get asked by people, like how did you start? Like how should I start? And my first question back is, well, do you actually have passion behind wanting to create content, or are you just wanting to do it because you think all the benefits are cool? You have to have a passion behind it. Totally. And if you don't, it's going to show that you don't, so there's a lot of deeper things to think about.
Definitely. And I think that goes for anything. I mean, that's how I feel about the podcast. It's like when people are like, how are you finding the time to do that? Because you have another business and additional business on the way. And I'm like, the podcast is like it's a lot of work. It's like creating content, right? But I feel more aligned than I have in my whole life, like doing this than I ever have before. So I love that.
And that's a beautiful thing, because a lot of people in life don't ever find that kind of joy from work. But when you find things like that you genuinely enjoy and they ignite like a fire inside of you, it's so important to keep doing that.
Yeah, I totally agree. So did you see that there was this niche or like white space in especially like the West Palm Beach area that nobody was really creating content specifically for the girlies that live there?
Originally, no. Now, yes.
Okay.
I originally was just posting all of my beauty stuff, my skincare, traveling. And then randomly one day I had my best friend coming in town. And whenever I have someone visit, I get printer paper and a Sharpie and I write out what we're going to do that weekend, just so we can maximize, every single, or capitalize, what's the word? I don't know. Really have like the best weekend and do all of the things that they want to do. And my best friend's been to Palm Beach. Like she comes twice a year. She's been often, but there's still so much to see and do. Yeah. So I always plan the full weekend out. And then I was like, let me just post this. Maybe people will find this interesting. I closed my phone. I went to dinner with my girlfriends. I went to the bathroom, checked my phone, and I had like hundreds of new followers on. So many comments. I was like, what is happening?
Oh my God.
So from then on, and then I started getting, local restaurants reaching out. And I did a lot of that in the beginning with the restaurants, which I've tried to pull back from. But yeah, I see it now. There definitely is interest in Palm Beach and West Palm Beach and what to do there.
Yeah. Well, I was telling you, so I recently moved to West Palm Beach, and that was a big reason. We had met prior, but a big reason like your social media came onto my radar is because when I moved, I think I had a friend like once a week sending me your content of like, you got to go here, like here's your new coffee shop that you should go to, or let's try when I visit you. And it just hits on like such a white space, because it is this area that is becoming more and more popular, especially for people our age.
Yes.
There is like new businesses popping up left and right. And yeah, you just kind of hit the nail on the head.
Well, and I think that's the common misconception with Palm Beach specifically, is that it's for older people and that there's not many young people that live in West Palm or Palm Beach. And that couldn't be further from the truth. There are so many young professionals and young adults in general that are living in West Palm. And it's so much fun. There are so many things that you can do. And I want to just share like my day-to-day life, because life on Palm Beach and life on the other side of the bridge, they're very different lifestyles. Yes. And I think if I can shed some light onto kind of like what a normal person does around town in West Palm, it's fun. And I feel like it's relatable, because there's a lot of normal people living in West Palm that don't, have the lifestyle of
not necessarily the ultra wealthy, right? Yes. But you still, I love like you're always like shopping and walking around and
the story of my life.
But no, but it shows like live in West Palm, like you like live your day to day in West Palm. But then when someone comes to visit, or
we do all the things.
Town, it's like it's so fun to go over there and have this cocktail and do some window shopping, and
it gives me a reason to be a tourist in my own town.
Yes. Yes, I love that so much. So you mentioned, you're kind of in the aesthetics industry, and there's a lot of crossover with, we talk about well, health and longevity a lot here. But I think something that we would be remiss not to touch on is the outer piece.
Yeah.
Because it's like we, especially as women, we want to feel really good on the inside, but I want the outside to reflect that as well. So walk me through, what are some things, what are some treatments that you recommend? Do you mind sharing your age?
I'm 28.
You're 28. Okay.
I started getting Botox for the first time when I was 25.
Okay.
And my mom is, I won't share her age because she would be so upset with me. Okay. She is stunning and she does not look her age at all. So I think my love for aesthetics and just overall beauty treatments, it 1000% came from her. I mean,
Okay.
she has been getting microneedling and lasers and you name it for a long time. More regenerative? Yeah, that.
Yeah.
More regenerative type treatments than, like your typical Botox and filler,
Right.
which she does get as well. But starting with skin health and like the skin foundation,
Yes.
she's been doing that for so long, which you can see it makes a visible difference in the overall aging process. And there are people who prefer to age gracefully, and I'm all for that.
Right.
But if you have the means and you have the desire to start these medical aesthetic treatments, I'm also all for that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't agree more because and I think there's something to be said for, starting young, like when you're first starting to see those fine lines popping up and, just starting to look in the mirror and you're like, that doesn't look exactly like it used to before. And being a little bit, not necessarily even like preventative, but like preventing the progression of that aging when you can or when you want to.
Well, and for me, I'm a very expressive person. And when I would raise my eyebrows, it looked like a Sharpay, like so many rolls. And that's fine, but I just didn't like the look of it aesthetically. So I fixed it with Botox. And there are so many different thoughts around Botox, but I really, for one, love that it's a wrinkle prevention, in my opinion, because I'm not moving my forehead as much. So I don't have those static lines on my forehead. Mm-hmm. Same for the crow's feet. And then same for those 11 lines in between your eyes.
Yeah.
And then filler wise, I have had a full face of filler. I've had my cheeks, my chin shadows, which are like the shadows that we inevitably get over time. And then I have done under my eyes and my lips, of course.
Okay.
And then aside from actual injectables, I have now kind of become obsessed with those treatments more than the injectable side. I will religiously always get Botox forever. But I'm really starting to focus on microneedling, which can stimulate collagen over time. Mm-hmm. Also is tremendous for texture and overall complexion of the skin. It is.
Yeah. Do you do microneedling like just with a skin pen?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'll do it with PRP, which is when they take your blood and then they spin it, and ultimately you get plasma that you can pull out from the I guess it's like a tube that they have or whatever, and then they can microneedle that into the skin. So it just helps with, I guess, the healing process, but also making the outcome that much better.
Yeah, it kind of absorbs because to like paint the picture. So when you're microneedling, it's exactly how it sounds. You're creating these like small puncture wounds in the skin. And then the healing process is what actually brings the collagen to like, it helps create more collagen. And then when you add the PRP topically, it helps it create that much more collagen. It's that much more quote unquote regenerative. So for anyone familiar with like regenerative orthopedic stem cell treatments we do here at Pureform, in the same way it regenerates your joint, it can actually regenerate your skin texture as well, which is really nice.
And a lot of people are nervous about it because it's intimidating, the name microneedling, but there is no pain. I did not feel anything with topical numbing.
Okay.
And I'm a baby when it comes to pain. Like, I'm such a baby. And it is very comfortable. The downtime is very minimal. So that's become my new treatment of choice, along with chemical peels. Those two combined are phenomenal. But yeah, I've really focused, and I think working in the aesthetic industry, I definitely have a bit more of an in with a lot of these treatments, which, I'm grateful for. If I didn't work in the aesthetic industry, I don't know that I'd be able to do this as often, but given the fact that my clients are doing this all day, every day, it's easy for me to snag an appointment with them when I'm, after meetings one day and just get my microneedling done. But I will always prioritize my skin health. That's the way I think of it, is it's your skin health and how you're taking care of the largest organ in your body.
Yeah.
So, big proponent of the aesthetic treatments.
I love that. So how often do you do the microneedling?
Once a month.
Once a month. Oh, wow. Okay. That's more often than I thought.
Mhm.
And is there downtime at all?
Maybe 3 or 4 days. And the downtime is really just dry skin.
Oh, okay.
The redness goes away within, 12 hours. Like I'll get it that afternoon, go to bed, and the next morning I'm no longer pink. Unless you go pretty aggressive. But the downtime is very minimal, which is why it's always my favorite.
Yeah.
Chemical peels, they have peels now that don't really shed your skin as much, but I prefer this one that does make you shed quite a lot. So that has a little bit more downtime, but the microneedling, not as much.
Okay. Which chemical peel do you prefer?
It's called the Perfect Derma Peel.
Okay.
And I have melasma and some like low contrasting pigment throughout my face, and it just helps. I feel like it literally peels that away.
Oh, wow.
It's a great treatment.
And how often for that?
If you want to go between microneedling and chemical peels, that's what I've always been told is best.
Okay.
But recently I've just been doing the microneedling because given the fact that it's getting warmer, I'm in the sun a bit more.
Right. Because you have to be really careful.
Right.
Especially if you do a chemical peel, like to get like zero sun on your face, right?
Even with microneedling, I'm always wearing hats. Yeah. If I'm out in the sun, I'm not barefaced. I have a hat on.
Yeah. And sunscreen, I'm sure.
A lot.
Yeah.
And I'm reapplying. It's very important, especially down here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The sun is very strong, especially like this last week. I feel like it's like all of a sudden it's summer.
Summer's coming. And it's so funny too, because I was just with one of my girlfriends last week and we were talking about going to see the dermatologist.
Yeah.
I go annually for my checkups, and I thought that was a normal thing, and maybe it's just because I'm so fair, and both of my parents have had skin cancer before, so I know that I could easily be prone to getting it as well. So I make that a point to go see my dermatologist every year. But a lot of people don't do that.
I know.
And I can't stress the importance of it, because you might not see something, but they will.
Oh, yeah.
And catch it early.
Oh, yeah.
So I just can't stress that enough. Using your sunscreen, protecting your skin from the sun, and then going to see your dermatologist.
Yeah. This is a good reminder for me. I'm due. I book my appointment for my husband and I every year because my husband's a redhead. So he's like fairer than fair.
Yeah.
And we're due for our appointment. So I'm going to call him up.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right after I leave.
Yeah.
You better book that appointment, girl.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Not in my head Botox, because I'm like so overdue. And as you're talking, I'm like, I got to go.
And that's what's so funny is a lot of people think when they can show a little bit more expression, like start raising their eyebrows, that it's time to go back and get it. And I don't know if this is true, but I am trying to stick to just 2 treatments a year because I am nervous that in my older age, I might become immune to the toxin.
That's my issue, is like I am like movement wise, like I'm like fully ready. But I run through it so fast. Even like I'm using the one that's like supposed to last you like 6 months. And it lasts me like what Botox should last, which is 12 weeks. So
and if you're active and have a fast metabolism, if you're doing hot yoga, sweating a lot, it can inevitably bring that movement back much quicker.
Yeah.
For so many different variables to it.
I know. And that's me. I'm like working out every day. Even when I'm not working out, I'm sweating because I'm in Florida. And it's all good. But I love it. And then one thing I wanted to ask you about is I saw recently you dissolved your lip filler.
Yes, girl.
First of all, is it painful?
Yes.
It's like more painful than getting filler, right?
It is.
Okay.
And it's more annoying. It's like this bee sting that won't go away because they keep injecting it, and then you have to massage it out. It's very uncomfortable, but it's worth it.
So what was your, why did you want to dissolve your lip filler? Were you just like, I just want to start fresh?
I think I had lip filler blindness, if I'm being completely honest. It wasn't proportionate to my face. I think I had, over the years, just added so much, and it got to the point where my bottom lip was just looking a little large. It just wasn't proportionate looking. And so I was interested to just dissolve and kind of keep it that way for as long as I could, just more natural.
Yeah.
But then I dissolved and realized that I have 0 lips.
That's me.
I put a little bit more in there just to refill, but I wanted it to be very natural, which I feel like the person I go to is phenomenal and she's very natural and minimal. So she did a great job.
I love that. Yeah. No, it looks very natural.
Thank you.
Like, honestly, looking at you, I wouldn't assume that you have any filler just because it's all done so beautifully. And I'm always a big proponent of that. And it's like just having very subtle enhancements with your filler as opposed to this like huge difference before and after, you know?
And that's the wave that I think aesthetics is going to. It's more natural. You don't want to look at someone and think, oh, wow, she has a lot of filler. You know, you want it to be an undetectable injectable. You don't want anyone to think that you are just filled with a bunch of fake stuff.
Totally.
People are definitely wanting a more natural look these days.
I totally agree. Yeah. In my opinion, it's like if you're looking at someone and you can point to anywhere that they definitely have filler, they're not, like it's not done correctly.
I would never want that to be said about me. So
I know. Same. And have you dissolved any of the, because you said you have under eye, cheek, chin. Have you dissolved anywhere else?
I haven't. I just got that probably a year ago. So I haven't really had a need to dissolve anything.
Okay. And then how do you feel about the more regenerative injectables, like products like Sculptra?
I've always wanted to try Sculptra.
Yeah.
Or Radius. Yeah. Those are the two products that I believe are meant to stimulate collagen production. And I think they're great building blocks that you can then add filler on top of if you need to.
Mm-hmm.
And more so because they're not immediate. And I know we live in a world of immediate gratification and wanting to see the result quite literally instantaneously. But those products take a bit longer to really start working. So I think people just naturally gravitate towards filler. But I do see those products growing in popularity because people are so interested in a more natural alternative, which those are. But I'm very interested to try Sculptra. I think it would be great for the long term.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. And it's I think it's like they say, like if you're in your 20s, you use 2 vials. If you're in your 30s, you use 3. Like,
oh, is that that's what they say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, interesting.
Because I remember my mom being scared. She was like, oh, in my 50s, I have to use 5 vials.
It seems like a lot.
It does. But no, it's really great. It's like, it's another one of those preventative treatments because it builds the collagen and you kind of like inject it like all over and it just helps the collagen build in that area so that your skin doesn't thin in the way.
The biggest thing that with Sculptra or any of these products is the person you're going to. You have to vet them out. Like it is so important because I remember when I was talking with someone about how I wanted Sculptra and they were like, well, you need to make sure that you go to someone that knows what they're doing because if it's placed in the wrong area, you could sometimes look a bit pillowy.
Right.
And that could be with filler as well. So vetting out these people, doesn't matter if it's on Groupon, like please don't go to someone on Groupon. You know, you need to vet your injector out and make sure that they are quality because after all, it's a medical implant that you're putting into your skin. So
yeah, you want to look at their before and afters of their patients. And I remember, my injector always says too, look at your injector because they're likely injecting their own face, you know, and it's if they look overfilled or pillowy, like you're saying, you know, take that into consideration if you don't want to look that way.
Seriously.
Yeah. I love that. So, and then more on the wellness front and how wellness kind of connects with beauty. Are there any wellness treatments you like that you feel like enhance skin health and beauty as well?
Wellness wise, this is something that is kind of new to me. Just having a better relationship with the wellness space.
Yeah.
I do a lot of like the red light therapy mask.
Yeah, I love a red light.
And this is for any of my corporate girlies who might have an HSA account. You can purchase, if you go on Amazon and type in red light mask, it will show you which products can be paid for with your HSA account.
Really?
So your health savings account can actually purchase a red light mask for you.
Okay.
So that's what I did back in December. And I use my mask like every night when I'm just watching TV.
Yeah.
Because it's easy. You just pop it on your head and just let the red light go. And, you know, you can wear it for 30 minutes. You can wear it for 5 minutes, however long you please. But I purchased the I think it's the Dennis Groth or Gross.
Yeah, Dr. Jones Gross.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great one.
The one that he has.
Yeah.
And since it's pretty pricey, I didn't want to have to pay out of pocket for that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, technically the HSA account is what I've been putting into that account, but
it's pre-tax.
Right.
So yeah, it's
so you can use your
free.
savings account. You could also use your HSA to, I recently purchased an Aura ring, and you can use your HSA to pay for the monthly fee, because you have to purchase the ring and then it's a $6 monthly fee, and you can use your health savings to pay for that as well.
Oh, that's a great hack as well. I need to do that.
So that way you can, because I was really just using my HSA for doctor's visits and medications and things. But if you don't use it that often, you kind of rack up a lot. So if you want to go shopping with your HSA, I recommend definitely purchasing the red light mask. That has done wonders for my skin, especially if it's that time of the month and you get acne. I get really bad hormonal breakouts, and if I pop that red light mask on, twice a day instead of just at night, I feel like it helps so much with inflammation and any sort of pimples that might be coming your way.
Oh, I love that. That is such a great hack to use the HSA for that as well. Yeah. I'm gonna go do that.
It's
because I've been wanting that mask for a while.
Yeah,
it's pricey.
It is so pricey, and you don't want to go the cheaper route, because that doesn't mean it might be less effective. So, and this one is proven to work. So
yeah, no, quality is a big factor with red light, because it is. You can get one for $30, but it is not going to do the same thing
exactly
as the Dr. Jones Gross mask, or like we have a light stem bed here at Pure Form, and they have little like handheld devices too that are really, really good. So I'm sure you can use them for that as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I love red light. That's such a good wellness tip.
I know, and it's not something that I ever really heard about as much. I feel like just recently people have been talking about it a lot.
Yeah, and it's really good for you. Like, it's good for your skin cells, like it's one of those things that you can put it on an area that is hurt. Like if you, strain a muscle, like you put it there and it's literally healing.
Yeah.
So, okay, I love that so much. And then what do you like from a movement perspective? Are you a workout girl?
Yes, I'm a big mat Pilates lover.
Okay.
I was doing a lot of reformer, but I just felt that it caused a little too much like tension in a lot of areas, and my cortisol spikes when I'm in high intensity classes, and sometimes I just felt very fatigued and even more swollen and just not great after this class. It's like you should after a workout.
Right.
And no, reformer is great. It definitely has its place, but I love mat Pilates. I go to this one place in West Palm called the Kristen Rutley method, and she does mat Pilates and then integrates some bar work.
Okay.
Which I really love.
Bar.
And it's hard.
Is
I leave that class dripping sweat.
Really?
And I've never quite worked out every single muscle like I do when I'm in those classes, because you're squatting, but you're on your tiptoes and you have dumbbells in your hand. Like there's so many muscles that you're working. And I feel like I'm really starting to see such a huge difference in my overall muscle tone, because I had lost a lot of muscle. And that form of workout has been phenomenal. I've really enjoyed it.
Okay.
And then walking. I love to walk. I'm not a big runner.
Yeah.
So I love to do like a really long walk.
Okay.
Which is easy when you live in paradise,
It is.
But I'll do Pilates 3 or 4 times a week. And then Sundays are typically my off days. I take those for just resting and enjoying a quiet morning. And then the other days that I'm not doing Pilates, I walk.
I love that. I've been wanting to try the Kristen Rutley method.
You won't regret it.
So
come with me.
I will.
You'll love it.
I will. Well,
she's so good.
I live so close, so we should hang out.
We should do it.
Do a class and get a matcha or something after.
Matcha and Pilates.
Yeah.
The best thing ever.
Yes. No, literally. Or I have to try, what is it? The almond latte? Is that the one you mentioned? Almond.
With the tahini or something?
Yes.
That was?
Yes. Yeah. Almond's the hotel property.
It's really good. I haven't been in a while. I hope they still have it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We'll have to do that all one morning. I would love that.
It will be the best morning ever.
Because I love Pilates as well.
Yeah.
I'm a big like strength train. I do reformer, but I love a mat Pilates too. Even like I'll do them like in my backyard at home sometimes.
There you go.
When I'm just like yesterday, I was like, energy was low. I was scheduled to go to the gym and I was like, I'm just not feeling this.
Yeah.
And it is. There's something about a mat Pilates class where it's like you're still sweating, you're still getting that burn, but you're not like taxing your body.
Right.
Like you have more energy afterwards. Which is
Exactly.
great.
And what I love about her classes too is she does incorporate some strength training in there. So she'll do like heavier dumbbells one
Okay.
day or a few different days of the week. And it's obviously like on her workout schedule. So you can pick and choose, if you want the heavier lifting days, you can pick those classes. I'm right there with you, listening to your body. Like we put such an emphasis on like an obsession of going to the gym and working out and being in your best shape. And of course that's important, but I do genuinely believe that when you see like the perfect Instagram model or you see these bodies that are just 0% body fat, and it kind of puts I've always felt until recently that it just adds this like additional sense of pressure of, I have to get there. I have to get there somehow. And then it restricts you from enjoying certain parts of your life. There is no way that I would ever look that way. Even if I ate rice and ground turkey every single day, I wouldn't enjoy myself.
Right.
I don't know that like genetically, I could ever do that.
Yeah.
And I just think that finding a movement that you genuinely enjoy and then listening to your body on the days that you just simply do not have the will to do it, that's okay.
It's okay. And it's actually better if you don't do it that day.
Yeah.
If you if you're just really don't have the energy for it, like you're so much better just going for a walk or taking a rest day. It really is. I couldn't agree with that more. I have been through like many ups and downs with my health. I know you mentioned you have Hashimoto.
Yes.
When did you realize that you had Hashimoto's?
It was about a year and a half ago. It's like December of 2023.
So fairly recently.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I couldn't tell you exactly how long I had had the symptoms prior, just because I feel like it was like a blur at that point. I was just really stressed with my job and just I was putting my body under a lot of pressure and stress. And I walked into one of my clients' practices one day. We had an appointment, and she was like, "You don't look well. You look anemic. Can I take your blood? Like, let's see what's going on." She thought I was just anemic. And then we got my blood work back, and she saw just some things from the blood work that kind of looked like Hashimoto's.
Yeah.
So then I went to an endocrinologist they confirmed from there that it was Hashimoto's, and it wasn't bad enough to be treated with medication.
Oh, okay.
So I just kind of kept feeling awful, It's Hashimoto's is such a weird thing, and it's so common these days, especially in women, but it causes like extreme fatigue. I was having horrible brain fog. You just don't feel well. I felt like my legs weighed 800 pounds each. Just walking was like exhausting.
They didn't put you on anything?
No, because my levels didn't seem that bad at first. And then I got to the point where I was like, I can't function.
Yeah.
And so I went to an OBGYN actually, because they deal with a lot of people with Hashimoto's, especially when you're trying to get pregnant.
It's very related with your hormone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which then they were like, maybe I'm PCOS, but I don't have any of the symptoms really. So I don't know.
They're very interrelated because I have PCOS and hypothyroidism.
Okay.
Which is like, hypothyroidism is like the early stage Hashimoto's. Yeah. And it's because like your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, when those are imbalanced, it starts to tax your thyroid, right? And it drains your thyroid. And it's like, but it can happen in the reverse as well. Yeah. Your thyroid, because that can then start to tax your hormones.
It's so strange.
Wow. So you're still not on any medication?
So I was talking to another client of mine. That's one of the perks of working and being a medical sales rep. I have so many different clients. I have so much great knowledge that I could just kind of pick their brain. But one of them had an OBGYN friend that she recommended I just go see for her to test my levels and kind of see hormone-wise what was going on.
Right.
And she ended up putting me on a thyroid medication. And it was great. It gave me a lot of energy. Definitely gave me much more energy.
Okay.
But then it was almost too much because I couldn't sleep. My heart would race.
Oh yeah, that's way too much.
So then I pulled back, and I haven't been on medication for a while now. My endocrinologist just suggests that we're not at that point yet.
Okay.
So just monitoring, just the smallest things, like not having coffee for the first 30 minutes of me being awake.
Right. I was going to say, do you do any wellness practices or like lifestyle things to
Yes.
control it?
And stress is the biggest thing that impacts Hashimoto's, and one of the biggest. And that's something that I struggle with a lot. Like I'm in a very like high stress position in my job, and I my endocrinologist basically had like a come to Jesus moment with me where it's like, hey, you're kind of doing this to yourself. Like you have got to prioritize first off you and your health, but then understanding the outside triggers that are causing you like to flare up so bad.
Right.
So high cortisol is such a huge thing too with Hashimoto's. So doing those high intensity workouts, I really pulled back from those. So now I'm doing things that are much more, less stress. When I wake up, again, no coffee for the first 30 minutes. I drink 8 ounces of water first thing.
Okay.
And then making sure I'm prioritizing my sleep because I was not doing that. I was like,
biggest thanks.
Staying up watching Netflix till 11 and then waking up at 6 a.m. and then just immediately going.
Yeah.
And it just was running my body to the ground. So now I'm a very strict bedtime routine where, and that's helped a lot. One day I'll probably have to go on medication because it's something you have forever. But,
that's like a misnomer though. You don't have to have it forever. It's something that you'll have to, it sounds like you're doing all the right things. And if you continue doing all those things, like you should be fine.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It just like it's life happens. So we all encounter different stressful periods in our life. So yes, like there might be something out of your control that then throws your symptoms off. And yes, medication might help during that time. I mean, honestly, like stress has been such a big factor in my health as well. And managing it is definitely part of like my priority. But I take like a very low dose of compounded thyroid hormone.
Okay.
And it's really helped me just stay balanced. So it's one of those things like if you feel really great without it, it doesn't mean that you can't continue to feel that way. But
and it's funny because I know so many people that also have it, and a lot of them are all on like a very microdose of a GLP-1.
Oh yeah.
And I've been taking a form of GLP-1 for 2.5 years now. And I do find that the weeks that I'm off of it, I can't sleep as well. My stress is much higher. It really does. There's so many things that it helps with. And it definitely has helped with my Hashimoto's.
Well, it lowers inflammation. So it's something that I think it's like this common misnomer. I'm so glad you brought this up because we talk about it a lot here at Pure Form because I think these GLP-1s get a bad rep sometimes because people take these mega doses of them. And like you had mentioned earlier, it's like you can lose a lot of muscle very quickly if you drop a lot of weight in at an unnatural pace.
Yes.
And if you have zero appetite and all you eat is a handful of French fries, you're going to be malnourished.
100%.
But if I'm sure you're on like a little bit of a smaller dose.
Very.
And that can actually be super anti-inflammatory. It actually makes a lot of sense that it helps with your autoimmune disease for that reason. Because it's Hashimoto's, like your body's just, your immune system's overreacting. That's what an autoimmune condition is. So we actually have a lot of patients here who it helps them manage their autoimmune beautifully.
There's such a bad, it's very, I feel like it's a very gray area with the GLP-1 medications because everyone thinks they know everything and then it's a totally different, the facts are totally different. So it's just, I will always preach the goodness of GLP-1s and what they've done in my life.
Right.
But to your point, I do think that they can be used in a way that's detrimental to your health in the long term if you're not prioritizing what you're eating, the amount of water you're drinking, and still working out, building muscle, because you lose muscle if you don't work out during your taking this medication.
Right. So when you got on it, was it for the Hashimoto's or was it for weight loss?
It was for weight loss.
Oh, okay.
My weight has fluctuated pretty much since I can remember. I'm tall, I'm larger boned, like I have curves, and ever since I was a little girl, I was always like the biggest one in the class or the biggest one on the cheerleading squad and, whatever. But that does do a number on you, like your self-esteem as you grow older. But I had taken a job that moved me to Florida and I was covering like all of South Florida as a sales rep. So I was on the road all day long from like 6:30 a.m. sometimes till 8 p.m. or 10 p.m. So my eating habits kind of got out of hand. It was just like the quickest thing I could find. Chick-fil-A for lunch. And then I would take a doctor to dinner and we'd have wine and all this delicious food. And I've never really had a good relationship with food. So I would overindulge and just, oh my God, all the gluttonous food that you really shouldn't be eating every day. Maybe a treat every now and again. But I had gained like 25 pounds at that point. I didn't feel good. Couldn't fit into any of my clothes. It was way more than I was wanting to weigh. And, this drug came out and I have a lot of clients that started to use it and I had access to it very easily. So I started trying it. And I mean, within a month, I think I had dropped 10 pounds and it kind of becomes addicting because you're like, ooh, how much more can I lose?
Yeah.
But I was that person in the very beginning when it came out. Because I feel like no one really knew enough at that point. Wasn't drinking enough water, wasn't eating enough. I wasn't eating well. If I was eating, it was like, let's go to Chick-fil-A. Now that I'm looking skinnier, I could eat fast food and I just won't eat it all,
Yeah. I love that you're talking about this because I think it is even like with people, like it's so multifaceted. And I think people are scared to admit that sometimes. And I think that's what makes for such an authentic content creator is to talk about this, to say like, here's some mistakes that I made.
100%. I will own up to that because I think we as humans always want like the easy way out of a lot of things.
Yeah.
And this injection can seemingly look like the easy way out, but you still have a lot of work that you need to put in as well.
Yeah.
If I could do it all over again, I would have prioritized a very clean diet. I would have prioritized weightlifting because I lost 25 pounds very quickly. And now I feel like I'm left with some like saggy skin that it's not like, crazy, but I do feel like, especially in my legs, like I need to really build up my muscle so that my skin isn't so laxed. And when you drop that much weight that quickly, it affects a lot of things. So,
I've fluctuated in weight same over the years and I've noticed that as well. Like you notice it's like when you do lose weight, you're feeling like this is awesome. And then, but I do notice, especially I think as we get like a little bit older, you're not like 20 anymore. It's like, oh yeah, your skin doesn't just like snap back immediately.
You're like, oh my gosh, I'm not 21 anymore. This is so hard. But I see this happen a lot. It's kind of obvious when you see on social media people all of a sudden they're like very skinny. I hate to admit it, but 9 times out of 10, I'm always like, oh, they're probably on it.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to drop that much weight that quickly. And I've seen it where a lot of people kind of reach this point where they're very thin and they look almost malnourished.
Right.
And I got that way. I was way too thin.
I was going to say, so did you get too thin? And then did a friend or a client or someone say something?
I had my mom, my friends are like, you are a little too thin. You need to kind of
you have good friends.
No, I really do.
Yeah.
They've always been very honest but they've done it in a very loving and caring way.
Okay.
So I'm very appreciative of that.
No, it genuinely is like that's it's like anything you want your friends to tell you. Like if you have lip filler,
I wish they had told me, girl, dissolve those lips. It's okay. Someone on the internet said it originally. That's what got that idea going. I didn't admit that until now.
I feel like as a content creator, like it's like if you don't have good friends, you'll have followers. Whether they're
and you know what they say, the TikTok trolls are nowhere near as worse as the Instagram. And the Instagram trolls are ruthless.
Yeah.
And I had a woman, an older lady. Has anyone ever told you that your bottom lip is way too big? I'm airing it all out now, but that's the truth.
That's hilarious.
And then I asked my mom and she was like, yeah. So thank you, Suze. We love your honesty.
Okay. No, I love that. Okay. So they were like, okay, look a little thin. So did you lower your dose? Or did you get off?
I can't remember. I haven't been off of it in long stints. I think the longest I've ever gone off is like for a month.
Okay.
And that's just because there were periods of time where it was harder to get. Like a lot of these compounding pharmacies
Yeah.
were having issues with supply. So it was just longer for me to get. But one of the reasons I stopped for like a month was because the semaglutide was making me very nauseous. It was giving me just worse side effects than I had had.
Right.
So I started doing the tirzepatide, which has helped so much.
Okay.
Nowhere near as nauseous. And I'm on a low dose. So
Yeah.
it doesn't affect me as much. Like I still have a good appetite.
That's great.
I just am eating more in moderation.
Yeah.
Which I never have been able to do. You know, prior, if I had a full plate, I would eat everything on the plate because I just didn't know how to tell myself, like, you're full, you don't need to eat everything.
Right. You're satisfied.
Right.
Right. And you mentioned in socials, I hope you don't mind me bringing it up, but you also have a little bit of an eating disorder past as well, right? And do you feel like the semaglutide or tirzepatide actually helped like quiet that as well?
So much.
Okay.
And that is the reason I'm still on it, honestly, because I had a lot of therapy. I, took medication to just try and help me not have an eating disorder. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, it's an addiction. Like it's a mental thing. And I just could not shake that no matter how hard I tried. And this is the first thing in my life that has quieted those like food noises in your head.
Okay.
So instead of me binging at night and, doing things that were harmful for my body, this medication has just completely silenced that. Like I can sit on my couch and enjoy like, a book on my Kindle, a show on Netflix, or just time with my friends and not be worried about feeling like I need a midnight snack kind of thing or a late night snack.
Yeah.
Which I feel like people don't talk about enough that it can help. So, and I think they're actually studying it for addiction now for alcoholics and drug addiction. And it's a wonderful medicine.
It really is. It really is. And it really can be so therapeutic for people because we've seen that even with patients that come into Pureform work with our integrative medical providers because we use GLP-1s with them. And we've had people come in who didn't even recognize they were having a problem with alcohol before. And they realized like, oh my God, a couple months later, before I started this, I was drinking a bottle of wine plus a night. And I wasn't even admitting to myself like that was the case.
Yeah.
And now I have, a glass or two of wine on the weekends with my friends. And I'm able to, in the same way with food, it's like I'm able to enjoy with balance.
Yeah.
And in a healthy way for a healthy lifestyle. So, no, honestly, you were the first one that I saw talking about it in regard to an eating disorder in a positive way. And I thought it was such an important message. As soon as I saw you talking about it, I was like, it makes so much sense if it's doing this for, alcohol, food. It's quieting that noise of your brain looking for that like dopamine.
Yes.
And that's exactly what an eating disorder is, right? So, yeah, I think it's such an important conversation. And that's said with the caveat of, if you have a history of under eating,
right,
beware that, like you said, you don't want to use it to fuel yourself to
Exactly. And I think eating disorders I don't think they're talked about enough. And I think a lot of women struggle in a quiet place, which is so scary. That is the scariest place to be when you are struggling so bad and no one around you knows. And you don't know how to talk about it. You don't know how to get help. And I wish that it was more I wish it was more common for people to share because it starts when you're young, 9 times out of 10. It's behavior that you start to pick up on when you're a young girl and when people are mean and they're saying, nasty things about you and the way that you look. And it sticks with you forever.
Or like you said, it's like you're on the cheerleading squad and you realize, everybody else is in a size extra small and you're in a size medium. Like,
yes.
I definitely had those, like experiences as a teenager. And like it sticks with you.
Absolutely.
It sticks you.
And I did pageants in high school and then a little bit when I had graduated college.
Where are you from?
Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. Okay.
So I did that when I was in high school. And then when I went to college, or my like senior year, or maybe it was my junior year. I can't even remember. I did my high school pageant first.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I really like this. I want to do bigger pageants.
Yeah.
And my mom was actually Miss North Carolina and went to Miss America
Oh my God.
back in like 1976, I think it was, which I'm like, that's the coolest thing to me that my mom was Miss North Carolina.
Yeah, no, that's
competing at Miss America.
That's huge.
And I always admired her so much for, being a beauty pageant queen. And I always wanted to do them, but she never pushed me. She never told me, like, I want you to do pageants. It wasn't until I asked her if I could do my high school pageant that she was like, I think you're ready. I think you're at an age that, you could do this. So I started competing on a very like high level with the Miss Georgia competition as a teen. So it was called Miss Georgia's Outstanding Teen at that point. And they don't focus so much on body image at all, which I admire them for.
Nice.
They
Yeah.
focus more on like overall fitness and like health.
Oh, okay.
But when preparing for those pageants, the people that you work with, coaching wise, I was very into pageants, so much so that I was doing work study my junior year. So I would leave school at noon
Oh, wow.
and I had a job, a part-time job at a local boutique to fund, like my gas and extra things that I wanted to do, like buy clothing and things like that. My mom always told me, if you're going to have a car, you have to pay for it, gas wise, and all that stuff. So I had a job. So the work study thing actually was legit, but it also offered me extra time to go see my pageant coach and work on everything to prepare me for the state pageants. And there were people in the pageant world, a lot of these trainers that worked with a lot of the girls in the competition, fitness trainers, who back then just really taught awful. And at that point, it was just, I look back and I'm like, I can't believe that you were teaching young girls this.
Like what?
Just, if you're going to eat out, if you're going to go to fast food and you're going to get a salad at Burger King, you better not use that dressing. Like, just teaching you that food was almost bad.
Yeah.
And that if you're not, barely eating, and if you're not working out 2 times a day, your competitor's working out 2 times a day. Why aren't you? Kind of a, you need to be better than the next kind of thing.
And it really is the ultimate like comparison.
Yes.
Right? Like,
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Because that's where it all started. It was, all right, so I need to go to the gym in the morning, and then I have work at
thinking about it.
and I work till 8 p.m. at this boutique. So I don't, dinner wise, like I would eat a pack of peanut butter crackers for dinner, or like a 200-calorie microwavable meal. And I got very thin. Like that was probably the thinnest I'd ever been. But it was, everyone thought I was so beautiful and perfect because I was so small. So I took that as, okay, I need to keep this up. I need to keep my body this thin and, keep these behaviors up. Then I started doing the Miss Georgia USA organization, which the Miss Universe organization is very body driven. Like they want someone who is perfect. Then as a rail, like no ounce of body fat. And to our conversation earlier, I could never get there genetically. I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I tried and I tried, and I'll never forget, I placed second runner-up at Miss Georgia Teen USA. And the first thing I thought of was, oh, well, I wasn't skinny enough, because the people who were ahead of me were very, very thin. And that was like the moment that I just went off the rails. And I went to college, and you're immediately introduced to like the buffet. And I never had that in my life. My parents were very healthy. I didn't know what candy was until I went to public school. I thought like a granola bar was candy. And so all of a sudden I had this buffet at my fingertips, and I just would pig out.
Yeah.
And I gained 20 pounds my freshman year and was drinking alcohol.
Oh, yeah. Where did you go to school?
Georgia Southern University.
Okay. Yeah.
And I gained a lot of weight. And I'll never forget just the things that people were saying, like, oh my gosh, she's just gone off the rails. And then I started obsessing about it, because I was like, oh my God, I got to get back to where I was. I got to get back to where I was. So my sophomore year is when my binging and purging really started happening. I went back to school, was living in a house with my friends. I had my own room, and I was, back to being thrown at this food and all this stuff around me. I wasn't drinking as much at that point, but all of my roommates were so skinny and like could eat whatever they wanted. So they'd want to go get late night ice cream. And I didn't want to miss out on that. I wanted ice cream, but I still wanted to stay thin. So I started abusing Adderall. I was taking Smooth Move tea, 2 tea bags every single night to completely deplete myself the next morning. If I ate anything, I would throw it up immediately. And my sophomore year, it got so bad. I was just trying to find a bathroom anywhere I could. And I was going to study abroad that summer and I couldn't. I had to come home. I had to get treatment. It was completely taking over my life. And for the rest of college, I struggled with that. I lived in my sorority house and I was peeking around the hallways, seeing if anyone was in the bathroom so that I could go and do what I had to do. If we were going to a restaurant, I would Google to see if they had like single bathrooms to see if I could like throw up my dinner immediately. And then I graduated and I was like, I want to give pageants a shot again. I think I could do this.
Oh, no.
And I tried to, and I went back on my pageant routine. I was working out like crazy, eating very well, wasn't binging and purging. I was like, what the heck? Oh my gosh. And then I didn't do well at the pageant and I just immediately went back to it. Like I would drive to McDonald's and buy a whole meal at McDonald's and then I would drive down the road to Taco Bell, buy a whole meal at Taco Bell, go home, eat it all and throw it all up.
Wow.
And I was like off my rocker doing this every day, wondering why I'm getting fat again. I can't lose the weight. I'm throwing it up.
Wow.
Of course I'm gaining weight. My body doesn't know when it's getting nourished.
Yeah.
Or when I'm going to have
The ultimate fight or flight.
And it was not until I started taking semaglutide that this all stopped.
Wow.
It all stopped.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think you're so right that it is such a common thing that we do not in the society talk enough about.
People kind of joke about it too.
Yeah.
Oh, I threw up.
Yeah.
You know, I drank so much and I ate a lot and I threw up.
I was just about to say, like, I feel like I know a lot of people who would hide behind like their hangover.
Yeah.
Or drinking, like at a party. It was like, oh, we went to this big dinner. Oh my gosh, I just threw up. That drink didn't sit right with me. And it's like, but, and I'm like, not from a judgmental place at all. Like seeing that because that thought has crossed my mind.
Right.
Because I think there's also such a spectrum of disordered eating where even if you're not fully getting 2 whole meals and going and throwing them all up immediately, like there is, I know just from being a girl and having girlfriends, it's like some people are completely on one side of the spectrum. They never think about it. They're probably very naturally thin or just have this super healthy relationship with their body image.
And I envy them.
And I envy them because that just wasn't me either.
Yeah.
You know, it was your mom was a beauty queen. My dad was a bodybuilder. And I saw my parents get so much positive affirmation from as early as I can remember based on the way that their bodies look.
Right.
And then when I was a young teenager, I have their genetics. I'm naturally, like you're saying, like you would never be like stick thin. Like I am naturally pretty muscular but I was very lean. So it was always like literally girls on my volleyball team would be like, let me see your 6-pack. And like, it was so fun until my 6-pack went away. And, you know, I had hit a stressful period of life and, you know, puberty hits and that's when my PCOS kicked in. I gained 30 pounds and like, it's like a real mind game. And yeah, I really resonate with that. Even just being like, feeling like I was the biggest girl in my sorority.
Yes.
And I'm not tall.
And all that noise, it just inevitably, we're human, it gets to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I envy those people who don't ever have to struggle with that because then I worry and I will do everything in my power to ensure that this doesn't happen. But like when I have children one day, what people will say to them that's out of my control when I'm, you know, when they might be at school or it makes you so nervous for anyone else that you love and care about so deeply to ever have to go through something like that.
Yeah, I think about it often because there's so many, you know, like it's not even like my parents ever said anything like, oh, don't eat that, it'll make you fat. You know, like I knew parents who would say that to their kids and my mom would be like, oh my God, it's terrible. I would never say that. But it's like, yeah, it's in the subtleties. Right. It's not really what you're saying to them. It's what they're seeing you say to yourself. Yes. And it's them seeing you pinch an area of your belly in the mirror or say, I don't want to wear that. That makes me look chubby.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But it's also okay to feel those insecurities and know that you have them, but then figure out how to understand how you can change that and change the way that you think about that. Because I don't love being in a bathing suit. I don't. But I'm okay with that. I don't like it anymore. And if I am in a bathing suit, I'd rather be in like either a one piece or a bathing suit that I genuinely feel confident in.
Right.
And that's a huge part of it too. That's how I've changed, the way I feel about being in a bathing suit is buying ones that make me feel confident.
Yes.
That I like to be wearing.
Yes.
But society just makes people feel so bad for the way that they feel. And I think that's something that hurts people so badly, is being dismissed for their feelings, when you should be able to feel those feelings and talk about those feelings and see how we can overcome the way that you are feeling so that it's a more positive experience.
Absolutely. And I think melding all of the tools together too, like I think sometimes there's this conversation of the body positive movement.
Yeah.
We just need to love our bodies no matter what, or we can use semaglutide and look the way that we want to look. And it's like these two things live on islands. And love that we're talking about, both being present at the same time, intertwined with one another.
100%.
Like it's not one or the other. It is, we can have our goals and be working towards those in a healthy way and utilizing modern medicine.
Absolutely.
While also doing therapy and working on loving ourselves and understanding the fact that the way that my body looks does not define who I am as a person.
And that I know people preach that, to the mountains and the whatever the saying is, preach it to the rooftop. But it's so hard. It's so much easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah.
And that, again, that is okay.
Yeah.
You can get there, but you have to do the work. You have to put in the effort.
Yeah. I love that. I did not expect our conversation to go that way, but I'm so glad it did. And
it's not talked about enough. And if I can shed any light on it, I'm happy to, because I know that there are women out there who are either young or they might be older and they're still struggling with things like this.
Absolutely.
And if we can just talk about it so that people know they're not alone and that they're not crazy for doing the things they're doing and feeling the way that they're feeling, we've done our jobs.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
This was such a great conversation. I'd love to have you back.
Oh my God. Anytime.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll definitely have to hang out in West Palm. Our Pilates and matcha day. Where can people find you?
You could find me on Instagram and TikTok at Gracie Abercrombie. Just my name. But yeah, I'm so over the moon to have been asked to do this. I genuinely can't thank you enough. Like, this was incredible. I think it's so hard sometimes. I've always felt sometimes that like I don't have a voice and that people kind of don't respect or like listen to me. So doing social media and things like this, it helps me to like have that confidence back in my voice and my experiences. So I'm very grateful.
You are extremely eloquent. I really like can't encourage you more to just like keep doing what you're doing, because you're going to help so many people.
Thank you.
Not just
you
too.
Thank you. These podcasts they're helping so many people already.
Thank you so much. And it is so powerful to just connect and, be able to come together and create communities with like-minded people.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This podcast was brought to you by Pureform, a comprehensive wellness center in Boca Raton, Florida. The website is pureformhealth.com, or you can find us on Instagram at pureformhealth. Feel free to message us with any questions, and note that you can connect with our providers for consultations over Zoom, from everything from stem cell therapy to hormone replacement therapy and peptide therapy. That's it for this episode of the Healthspan Collective. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. Don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, we'd love for you to rate, review, subscribe, and send it to a friend. We'd also love to connect with you on Instagram. Follow the podcast at Healthspan Collective and me at Nicole J. Doran. And leave us a comment on our latest post, letting us know what you'd like us to cover next.